I stopped there because I wasn't sure when my 15 minutes were up. Because I'm going to upload this on the Skype. So we were talking about in the scenarios when we were discussing our preparation for that, that the test of anything is it's the probability of it and the purposefulness of it. So that's a it's a testing anything. So we look at the probability of things and the purposefulness. So we look at all things as having purpose. There's this situation in Egypt, and I try not to use examples that are going to date the presentations, but we've watched Egypt go through these stages, and there was this, the military nullified the new uh, House of Representatives. I don't know what they exactly call it, but the parliament. And so that's a very chilling thing. Then they had their president, so it nullified, and so there was discussion and concern that the Muslim Brotherhood we had too much of the parliament, and there was a concern about that. And then there was the unknown about the military would try to take over one of their, the Mubarak person that ran for president against the Muslim Brotherhood guy. It was a close vote. I think he got 49% of the vote, but the Muslim Brotherhood guy won. Now, will the military try to nullify that election? I don't think so, because it's going to blow up. So here's this Muslim Brotherhood guy, Western educated, talking very inclusively, talking very much in the spirit of, not a lot of againstness in the way he presents himself. And that's people's fantasy and imagination, their fears, their projections that, oh, the Muslim Brotherhood, and there's already this mythology of againstness that wells up inside of us, and we don't really know. And then we see the military nullify the parliament, this fear of againstness wells up inside of us. We don't really know, is there a deeper purpose acting here? Is there a spirit behind the scenes? And they're going to have to redo the Constitution and elect another parliament. Is that going to put a situation in place that's more inclusive? Perhaps some of the more secular, military guys, some of the other secular people, some of the youth parties get in there. They got kind of crowded out because of the Muslim Brotherhood's forethought of really offering services to people that really helped. So it's time they've been doing, Muslim Brotherhood's been doing social work that the government wasn't doing and other people weren't doing. So a reason for people to like them, see. And, perhaps if you're living in Egypt, you don't have the same take on the Muslim Brotherhood. So here we are. We don't know. But from my perspective, so, gee, let me watch this because this could really show how there's this sentience, this movement, this zeitgeist moving through here that's going to keep correcting things so that this nation can fulfill its deeper purpose. See, Egypt always was trying to work out their sustainable existence. They went through different stages of civilization, most of which, favored an elite at the expense of the poor. But there's many technologies and many innovations that seem to be inspired through that. There's some, some of that story is that there's a group of higher beings that coached and gave insight and gave inventions to the Egyptians at different times to come about with some of the marvelous things that they did. And then Akhenaten tried to do the one God thing, but bring it together but he was a little bit disconnected, so it didn't work real well. But it's planted a seed. So all these seeds have been planted in Egypt, and it's always been subjected to the natural rhythms of the seasons in terms of the Nile and when it overflowed, and so then they thought they would disrupt that with their big dam and electricity. So there's been this long journey of Egypt. It's an ancient place. There's some speculation that it was even settled by a more ancient civilization. So with that in mind, when we talk about the looking glass, looking through that, well, what's on the other side of the mirror? In Alice in Wonderland, where the phrase was popularized, she went down the rabbit hole and to the unknown. See, and I think in one of our videos it talked about Carroll, the writer, of the author of this, being a physicist, and he had things he was sharing in there. So what happens when we go down the rabbit hole into this timeless internal look at things, where we're directly, engaged with the craziness? It's not, and the possibilities is not glossed over by what reflects off the mirror. See, our vision stops at the mirror. And we think that's reflection is what we're seeing, and we keep behaving off of the mirror. And so we keep reproducing the same things. But what happens when we go through the mirror and look back from this greater level and look in and perhaps discover the purposefulness of what nature is trying to teach, and the zeitgeist that's trying to pursue a certain kind of influence on humanity. We may look at this cohort that we're in and be encouraged by that, and just consider, though, that this is just one group, and if you look carefully, you'll discover that there's many things going on where people are waking up in different perspectives, and from their point of view, looking at better ways or deeper ways. And we're opening up to that too. So we always have to keep in mind about ourselves, not to get too, I was going to say enamored by the reflective self, but enamored can look a lot of different ways. It can be falling to how life seems, falling to the overwhelm, which is a reflective experience, falling through the discouragement. It's a reflective thing. People keep projecting stuff about the coming election based on the past, but what we begin to look at in scenarios approach is, there's lots of things that could happen that are never heard of before that can shift the consciousness and shift the perception. So we really don't know how that's going to turn out. Is there something that will radicalize our spirit so that we're responding and thinking from this inner resource of our soul that's had a timeless resource of wisdom and experience that takes the ego into its toe and integrates it and takes care of it and uses it to shine out into the world. That's getting very close to people. And for some people that's a fearful thing, because it's an unknown. They never considered they were that big, so they project it out as something out here coming at them. But when we adjust to that bigness and see it as us, then we start to see very differently. I love the phrase in allegedly said by Paul, where first I look through the glass darkly and then face to face, and that's pretty much the position we're in. So in each situation, even when we see the pattern of new innovations or new things coming along, or what people are thinking up, what's even deeper than that? There's one trend that's very strong is the moving to maybe look at local solutions, like in Oxfam. Many of the things that alleviate people in certain areas of famine, we're just solving it locally. Just bypassing the government. Of course, I don't know what the government does when that gets big enough to make them insecure, but to solve it locally. To build a 5-story greenhouse in the middle of or take over a building and use it to grow stuff and sell stuff on the first floor in the middle of the city locally. See what happens when we shift some of these things. Mary brought up about the power lines, and they just overran people to put that power line through there. For sustainable things, they had this wind farm and they had to get the power to the city. And so, okay, were there solutions that could create the power in the city? Like using nanites to make batteries. What else could they make? So we're looking at that like, we're doing things in a very expensive way. And if we go locally, perhaps it's a little different story. It takes things easier, and we start looking for ways that don't cost so much to get better results. See, so this is a very important and powerful time in this respect. Not to fall for the discouragement or the news even that interprets things always in an against way. Now on the internet you can find things that aren't against, but on the news there's something about the news that always is cast in against us, and so it stirs people up. It stirs up their righteousness. It stirs up their reactiveness, and they want to solve it some way, and they can't find a peaceful way. So when they can't find any other way, they want to use, drop a bomb on somebody to make them peaceful. This is nuts, of course. But this is the way, the media pool we live in. So when we see the news, we need to look at it and say, okay, that's what's being presented, and then look deeper than that. And we look past the reflection, look through the looking glass. So you look face to face. What's really the face that's being shown here? I'm just seeing little pieces. Sometimes you have to go out and gather other information to get all the pieces so that it gestalts into, this is what the zeitgeist is. This is what the spirit of the times is.